Friday?
Sure. Could be done tomorrow, but I'm not going to overpromise.
Hey everyone, finally got home from a 14-hour workday. Still have a little more to do later tonight, but I thought I'd try something a little different this evening and talk about the science of cooking a steak. Ideally, you want to let your steak come up to room temperature, which means you can leave a steak this size out for at least 4 to 6 hours. The most important thing I can stress to you tonight is the temperature of the steak at the various cooking times. So the closer we can go to room temperature at the beginning, that will set us up for success. A steak, like all other meats, is composed of proteins that run in strands. So let's imagine this drawing is our steak, and these lines are proteins. As with all meats, the proteins run in the same direction. A steak straight out of the refrigerator will still have solid fats, which are represented by the little circles in the drawing. We want to melt those fats to free up the flavor, as well as getting our temperature a little bit closer to the pan when we actually sear it. Am I losing you already? I promise it'll get better. I'm going to start cooking in a second. 30 minutes before you start cooking is when you season. Season both sides with salt, pepper, and garlic, and now we let it sit for 30 minutes to let the salt draw moisture out of the steak. When we pull moisture and water out of the steak, we're actually concentrating the flavor. You can preheat your oven during this 30 minutes to 425 and let it sit there for the full time. We need a really hot oven. Almost 30 minutes. Now we want a scorching hot pan. I'm using a cast iron grill pan. 30 minutes are up and you can start to see the salt has pulled moisture out of the steak. Just give that a good blot. Don't forget about the bottom side. So a little gross, but you can see how much moisture got pulled out of this thing. And that just makes your steak taste better. Now that we've blotted off the moisture, when you put it on your cooking pan, you cook the steak first, and you're not cooking the moisture, then the steak, giving you a better sear and a better char. I've heard a lot of people say that by searing the meat, you actually trap the moisture in, but that's not true, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, this part happens quick. 90 seconds each side, then flip. You'll also know it's time to flip because the sizzle will stop, or in a steak this big, it just starts to slow down. And flip. We're starting to lose our sizzle, so it's time to flip one more time, and then put it in the oven to finish. 2 minutes. Flip. 2 more minutes. So now you've done all this work for this beautiful steak, but the worst thing you can do is cut into it. You want to set it on a wire rack to keep it off of its own juices, because we wouldn't want to destroy that beautiful sear that we just put on the outside. Cover and rest. More nerd stuff? Okay. So we had our nice room temperature steak with proteins running in the same direction. But when you apply heat, oh no! Trapped in that crazy web of proteins is all the flavor and hard work that we put into our steak. So that's why we need to let it rest and let the proteins calm down. So after we let our protein rest, we go from this madness to this. As the protein temperature comes down, the protein strands re-straighten, not perfectly straight like we started with, but now they're more even and uniform. Now that the moisture and the juices have somewhere to go, the steak retains it when you cut it, keeping your steak the most moist and juicy it can be, regardless of how you like it cooked. Long story short, give your steak 10 to 15 minutes and then you'll keep all the flavor in your steak. Super important. Enough talk, let's eat steak. Boom! The moment of truth. I like my steak rare, medium rare. Let's see how we did. How did we do? Boom! So for portion control, and because it's my favorite part, I've cut out the eye of the ribeye, which is the center round part right there. So there you have it. Perfectly cooked ribeye steak. 90 seconds on each side for a sear, 2 minutes on each side for the oven. I'd say that's a good rare, medium rare. Thanks for bearing with me, and I don't know, I had fun. Probably going to go back to my old ways, but let me know what you guys think if you want more food science info and stuff like this. Appreciate it. I seriously tried for like 10, 12 minutes to try to make that last picture look good, and it looked terrible. Whatever. This steak is delicious. But Thor doesn't get any. Sorry, Thor. He's like a statue for steak.